Alrighty. We are live.
Hello.
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 Margaret,
Hello.
just like
We all have so much energy today.
It's been an exhausting day, and the thing that was most exhausting for me this morning turned out to be a non-thing. At least based on the reaction.
Like a non-thing. I love the way you said that.
So.
Okay. Well, good evening, friends. Today we have the November live show. I'm very excited and nervous. I don't know why. I'm so nervous, even though it's like we do this every month.
I feel you completely. Twice this month, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Only last time there was dressing up involved.
If you would like, I can start out roasting a rumor that I heard about somebody asking something in the Discord.
Yeah, let's start there.
Oh,
we did make fun of you.
Someone was asking us to drop Endgame early, and I just want to say that that's just like, enjoy the 4 days of peace that y'all are gonna have. And
I guess now you know when it's gonna drop.
Well, obviously we've got a movie coming, and so it's gonna be. We have what day are we watching the movie?
It's gonna be after at least 4 days.
The 4th. So we have at least 4 days.
Yeah,
at least 4 days. At least 4 days. We didn't just spoil that. Basically, what we're telling you is to enjoy your reading for this next few days.
I will also teleport to all of the hosts' houses and kick their asses if they try to do that. Just because I need that time.
I was gonna say
not yours, Michelle, because I think your child might be enough to like stop me.
Yeah.
Are you saying you wouldn't beat me up if I had a child? Because I have Cassie.
You have children.
Cassie, but Cassie will probably think that I am fantastic even as I am beating you up.
When I beat her up, so.
I might have to worry about Shotzi too. But
a bigger concern.
She weighs more than you do, Margaret.
Yeah.
Okay, so what is first on the docket here today?
What do we usually do?
Are we talking about like what do we do in here?
How do we do that?
well, first off, we do need to say that the movie is happening Saturday.
Yes.
At 2 p.m.
2 p.m. Eastern time, standard. Because apparently this is the standard time.
Yes.
I just always say Eastern Standard Time. I say it all year long, and people never know never get confused about what I'm talking about.
I know, but somebody was like, it should be Easter Daylight. I'm like,
well, so the reason why is because there's a few states that don't do daylight savings time. So they're in, like, Arizona is one of them. So they're in Mountain Standard Time, but Pacific Daylight Time.
Oh, that's too much.
Not confusing at all.
Right. Their time doesn't change, but if they work with people in other states, they it's weird.
They should just switch the time zone there, and they'd be like, "Yep, now we're working in Mountain Time." Yep,
well,
now
that's what they do, but it's hard because especially along there's a YouTuber that I work with that lives in Arizona, and around the daylight savings time change, we were like, okay, wait, is it the time now or the time? Yeah.
Are we together or separate?
Yeah, exactly.
I just Google it, and Google decides whether it's daylight or standard time for me.
Right.
I think
the
only province in Canada, I'm pretty sure, that doesn't do daylight. First of all, I think no one should do daylight savings.
I think daylight savings time is dumb, but the entire world.
Okay, but the daylight savings time is the one where we get more sun.
No, but I think we should just adjust our work schedules. I would work longer days in the summer to work shorter days in the winter.
Yeah,
kind of thing. But capitalism will do what it will.
But also the 40-hour work week is stupid in and of itself.
And it's so ineffective. Yeah.
It really is.
But the only province in Canada that doesn't do it is Saskatchewan, so nobody's ever cared enough to
Ow!
You know what I mean? Like if it was Quebec, we'd all have to be concerned, or like Alberta maybe, but
I think
Saskatchewan's just dragged along with the rest of Canada, unfortunately.
When we have one of those live shows where we're supposed to be reading, but we actually just discuss topics, we should talk about daylight savings time.
Okay, I'm gonna write this down,
and we'll lump in capitalism in the 40
Just make a whole video about it, Cal.
You know what though? What I'm going to do is I'm going to start writing down conversation starters. Invite you all to a live show and say it's sprints, but we're just going to talk.
Yeah,
that's great. I would do that. I would 1000% do that.
How is that different from what we usually do on live shows?
This time we're going to be honest about it. I mean, you all thought you came here for reading, but really this is a dinner party.
There you go. That would be such a fun live show though, to have a dinner party.
Yeah, if we all like brought our own meal and alcohol or whatever, dressed up like a little fancy schmancy. And we're like, so let's talk about the current state of the global economy. No, nobody wants to do that? Okay, Marvel.
Capitalism.
Our tea and our brandy and cigarettes and talking about how we're masters of the universe.
Yes. Yes. Brandy is especially invited.
All right. Awesome.
But Marvel,
any other announcements?
I think that's all for the announcements. Other than we're reading.
Are we going to talk about Are we going to talk about what next month's group book at the end or right now?
We might as well do it now.
Wait, next month's group book.
Well, like this month, December.
Oh, I'm not. Yeah, I'm.
You're like, I even figured that
one out of my chair, and it's right here.
Yeah, we're reading that in December.
Oh, I had that out earlier,
try to read this early so I can be like, I read this early.
I'm gonna try to read it early because I'm gonna do a video ranking the Avengers group books.
Same!
I want to play that game with you.
Wow.
I don't know that I will do.
We could do it live.
I'll do it live.
That would be
you
fun.
have to teach me how to do the ranking.
That would be so fun.
No, I wasn't gonna do tier ranking. I was gonna do it based on
based on
12 to 1.
Yeah.
I have some strong things to say about a few of those books.
So do I.
I'm guessing Sanctuary is gonna be dead last.
No.
At least on Christine's.
No. There is the one where
Liz
I couldn't even make it.
Does January have a group book?
No. So what?
Not at the moment.
So we are going to be doing an announcement for everything for next year. We have to confirm when we're putting that out, but we will have an announcement up sometime in the next couple weeks to give you guys all the information.
That's a good question for December's live show, Liz.
But like technically, there'd be a February book that you could, if we announce it, read in January if you wanted to.
Right. But we're gonna take January kind of very chill.
Because we're all
very tired.
We need
exhausted.
Recuperation.
And you all will too after Endgame.
Oh yeah, you're gonna be thankful for that, Jen. You're not gonna want to hear from Margaret specifically.
I don't know, because I think if I can get my TBR game up, I have a feeling there are some people in this chat that will be like right there with me doing this.
Yo, yeah, they're gonna do better than all of us.
An agent of chaos.
So
there will be people in the Discord that will probably finish Endgame in like a week.
You mean Cat?
Yes, Cat.
Let it be me.
Okay, I'm just gonna read all manga. I am sure I can find a manga that will meet every single endgame prompt, probably, except for a couple that I can think of right now.
You all want to hear something fabulous?
What?
Yes.
This doesn't help me with Endgame, even though I briefly thought it did, but I'm stupid. So, okay. So I get the week between Christmas and New Year's off. So I'm planning, like, if I can't finish stuff early, then I'll finish it in that week. But then we also get like the holiday for New Year's, so I don't work January 3rd either. So I go to work.
Me neither.
I go to work January 4th. January 5th, I'm having surgery. So I get like for like at least kind of like a 3-week period, I work for like one day.
Nice.
Wow.
Nice.
I'll post a few Instagrams and stroll on out.
Nice.
I have my birthday off because I requested it off. I don't think they're giving it to us. If they are, I'm going to be pissed because I requested it off. And here we are again with Labor Day. And then I do have New Year's Eve off.
I have Friday through Monday around Christmas, and then I think the following week it'll be Friday through Monday too.
Nice.
Like I think I have to go to work on the 3rd. No,
I'm so excited for when we drop Endgame, though.
Oh, me too.
Margaret's like a little gremlin right now.
I know.
I just really want people to be like, wow, remember when we were all so mean to Mr. Laufeyson in the chat? Remember when we said, oh, we cannot trust you. You are so mean. Well,
I mean, we are giving them more than 3 days this time.
soon you are going to say, oh my goodness, no.
Margaret is head gremlin in this one. Remember this.
There were a few that I tried to do easy, and y'all said, no, Margaret, they're going to expect more from us. And I was like, okay.
Oh, but should we talk about Infinity War?
We should, because otherwise I'm going to start talking about my TBR game and spoil it.
Yeah, let's not do that.
I'm in a hyperfixation mode.
I love that for you.
I don't, because I can't work on it right now.
That's fair.
That was me last night when I said, can we come up with prompts? And you guys said, no. And I was like,
I was just answering for me. I was not answering for anyone else.
I wasn't even present in the
Okay,
chat
Briar.
because it was my dad's birthday, and we went and surprised him.
happy
So
birthday,
I
Dad.
wasn't even home.
Anne-Marie,
Yeah, happy birthday.
Too late.
I have no
It
idea
was
what I was
too
doing.
late 2 weeks ago. Sorry,
Too
go ahead.
Is it too late to say who you want, Luna?
It was too late when y'all finished Civil War with like 20-something books.
But she said.
Wait, should I look up when I had this exact idea? I should. Because I can give them the exact, you'd say your thing, Bree, and I can give them the exact date that it was too late.
I have a thing to say.
Yes. You were saying something about your dad's birthday?
Oh, I just
Happy
wasn't
birthday to
even,
your
I
dad.
wasn't even present in the phone because I was too busy
Phone.
socializing with family because, yeah. And I got to hold Kaiden again for the millionth time. And it was great.
So
I mean-
Infinity War. It's a great
I
movie.
love babies.
Except for,
They already scheduled me for the his first babysitting session.
Yeah.
So on this date, we have a thing planned, and I'm like, okay.
Wait, what a good babysitter to have on hand than someone that deals with like 50 of them on a daily basis.
Right?
I can easily deal with one.
And they're so light when they're new and shiny.
and so easy to hold.
They're just itty
Most
bitty.
of the time.
Mhm.
Okay. The exact moment that everything went downhill for y'all was on November 11th at 10:06 p.m. Nope, a.m. It was in the morning. 10:06 a.m. was when I had my brilliant idea,
Happy Veterans Day,
and
y'all.
they just enabled me. They said, "Yes, Margaret, this sounds like a fun idea." And every time I questioned myself and tried to pull back, they were like, "No, Margaret, you're better than that."
Margaret, you're trying to sound like the good guy here.
Yeah, and we all know you're
Nope.
not.
I'm not. I'm just let's just keep in mind I am one bad guy amongst at least 3.
I'd like
At
to say I'm a
least
bit of an anti-hero. I'm not a full-blown villain. I'm a
Margaret
white-
Margaret grew up on DC, so of course there's a little bit of anti-hero in her.
Yeah, like some grit, some grunge, like, oh, we can't have them succeed. They must die.
That
Do
was
you
before they were
bleed?
super
You
grungy.
will.
I also grew the first one I officially remember watching was Batman, then Iron Man, then Superman, then Spider-Man. So it was kind of equal.
Yeah, I don't like choose.
I
my
watched the
favorites off
creepy
that.
one. I don't even remember which Batman it was.
I
that
watched the
one
90s
was
animated
scary.
series that's like a classic now. Why can't I do this?
I didn't watch that until like 2011.
I want to rewatch
I
it.
remember going to see Iron Man in theaters in 2008 when I was 11 and thinking it was about the Black Sabbath song and then being like surprised that it wasn't. So
I remember being absolutely in love with the movie when I saw it the first time because I loved Tony, and now I love Tony less, even though there's a very soft spot in my heart for him. Because
I just
That's how
don't
I
think I
feel.
understood it because again I was 11. So I was like, you know?
Because you kid.
Beth, that is my
Yeah.
sentiment exactly.
Yeah. And I was like, oh my gosh, is he gonna end up with the
Oh, wait.
nerd girl? The nerd girl being Gwyneth Paltrow. Okay?
I mean, she's nerdy in like a very sexy librarian way, though.
It's true.
Right, but
She is about as nerdy
as Goop.
Yeah, I was gonna say she's not very nerdy. She's like ex-cheerleader that was disgraced and decided to be a secretary.
She was the type A student that had color-coded binders.
You know it.
but
Let's be honest. Pepper Potts had color-coded binders in high school and college, and her teachers had to put her on mute during classes.
Laminated her study notes.
Definitely. She was the one doing most of the work in the group projects.
Okay,
Perfect
so
training for Tony.
She is the nerd girl.
Whatever.
There are multiple
Okay,
ways to be a
so-
nerd.
Are we gonna talk about this first?
no Infinity War.
No, we're gonna talk about Infinity
Okay.
War first because we watched
Okay,
it
we'll
first.
talk about that then. Okay.
It's a movie.
I didn't watch it.
But
I
you
did.
have seen it.
I did.
My
I've seen it, though.
mostly impression of the movie is that it's like Steve Rogers at his sexiest in that one scene.
Yeah.
It's also like Chris Evans at his worst acting though.
True.
Kind of
but-
is.
He
But,
doesn't
like-
emote the entire movie. And when
He
he
does
does,
the same. He's got the same face going on.
like, yeah. And
And
then he's
also the movie where I think Tony like actually became a decent human being.
like the best character. I remember seeing it in theaters and being like, why is Tony the only one making sense and Cap being an
And his lines were so funny.
yeah. Well, and
How
also,
about
like,
my favorite
Back
part
it up,
was the
Squidward.
I am Groot and I am Steve Rogers.
Yes,
That was
I
cute.
love that part.
okay,
I
That
also
is
like
good.
the line about like I'm way past asking for I'm not asking for forgiveness and I'm way past asking for permission, and I was just like,
Yeah.
I want that attitude.
The attitude of a mediocre white man.
I just want the attitude where I'm not apologizing to people in power anymore.
That sounds like a mediocre white man.
Okay, well, I mean, like snaps for Margaret wanting to stick up for herself. There we go.
Yeah. I try on occasion.
can we talk though? Like, okay,
Okay.
you know me. I love Vision. I find him sexually appealing. But I would have blasted that stone out of his head in second one. Like the minute Cap's like, we don't trade lives. I'm like, no, you are. You're trading half of all lives for one android that you could remake.
Also, says the man that like drove his plane into the ocean to save the world.
Trading his own life because he
Also-
recognized.
Also on top of that, Vision is a robot. So I don't know why we didn't just go, let's shut him down, take the power source out, we can disconnect him from all of this stuff, whatever. He's got a freaking hard drive in his head. We
Because
could have removed him.
Wanda, that's why.
But like,
Right,
I just
like,
he's a computer. He has a backup.
Like, just load him back into Stark
I'm just
Tower.
Doctor Strange was out there getting tortured, holding it together. Tony and Peter were doing all that they could. And Steve was like, the one thing that we can do ethically upsets me. And I was like,
That
I was
is
like, when
very
did you
in
decide to become
character
wicked?
with Steve Rogers and like that kind of mentality though, because that's a very pervasive mentality among military mindsets. Like we leave no one behind.
it was, but it's also like even Vision recognized that it was a foolish decision.
Right.
Yeah, and I honestly think Vision's decision in the end should have been the one that counted.
Yeah, Vision never made a bad choice. Vision was like absolutely dismantling.
Wanda didn't have a problem. I mean, she had a problem with it, but not as much as Steve did.
Yeah, and that's why it kind of felt weird. Like, okay, so you want like Vision understands like the weight of like Vision can make the same choice that other heroes have made in sacrificing themselves for a greater cause lots of times, and Steve's just like, no, not today. And I was like,
I could see it if Vision was really like conflicted about it, being like, okay, well, I mean, like, we can't ask you to do that.
And who said no to Tony when he flew up into space to like stop the nukes and all that? Like they've all had to make that choice at some point.
Tony doesn't ask.
And I was kind of like, this doesn't seem like the time to start having questions about that.
Mm-hmm. But that's because Tony's impulsive.
Right, but it was also the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Like fly the nukes out of New York City. Of course it was. And that's fewer people than Vision's death would have saved. So
no. I just think we should have shut him off. Like, he's a computer.
Thank you. We could just make him like a little new body. We could be like, Wanda, if you could have anything.
You really wouldn't choose Paul Bettany.
All right.
I kind of find Paul Bettany sexy and like a...
No, Paul Bettany is hot as...
He is adorable.
That's what he says. Everything. Snitches get stitches.
Like, daddy?
Sorry, daddy.
Also, he has a golden retriever, so I'm a fan.
Fair.
He's just extra. Paul Bettany with the golden retriever. Bam.
Right? You're like, oh, just like a friendly British guy with a golden retriever.
Like,
all right. Paul Bettany. I feel like Paul Bettany is the human form of a golden retriever.
A little bit, maybe. Have you guys seen the video? It was out a long time. Oh, it was a while ago of Paul Bettany trying to be like, "Who's your favorite Avenger?" to his daughter. It's not Vision.
Not Vision.
Is anyone's favorite Avenger Vision?
Probably someone out there.
Like Wanda excluded.
I mean, there's probably someone out there that wants.
There's some kid in New York who thought Hawkeye was the best Avenger, so surely there's someone.
And she's also done a lot of foolish things in the past few days, hasn't she?
I haven't started it yet. So politely STFU.
Okay, all I'll say is
that was not a spoiler. That's in the trailer.
That's in the trailer.
I haven't even seen the trailer.
What are we talking about?
Hawkeye.
My brain took a break.
I just know from you guys like yelling at me about the indigenous representation and me being like
I just have to say though, like without mentioning anything specifically, between November and December of 2021, Marvel was like, do you want beautiful deaf women of color who regularly kick the asses of white men that we're mad at? You want that? And we were like,
yes, we do.
Mommy, please, mommy. And they were like,
I am extremely gay for all of this right now.
Right? Like between Makari and Echo, I'm fucking dead. Whoa. Right? Like Makari and Echo is the next movie I need. Like Druid can come too, but I just need a team up between them.
Just women.
I know the power sets wouldn't balance at all well, but still.
You're like, I just want to see them making a pizza. That's all I want.
Yeah, really.
They can go on like a friendship date, like a hike.
Any gay activity, we're all for it.
Yeah. I'm also ready for like Yelena to swing in and like make out with Echo because they're like both mad at Hawkeye. I'm like,
ooh. She can just pull up in her Subaru.
Yeah, baby. Like, you're mad at Clinton Hot. I'm mad at Clinton Hot. You know what we should do? Kiss.
I'm here for that episode.
It's the final episode of Hawkeye. Hawkeye's not even
an hour of that. You're like, oh crap, nothing actually got done. Oh well, still the best episode.
Yeah, so this discussion is about Avengers Infinity War, a movie that Hawkeye is not in.
Yes.
Wait, is he? No, he's not.
No, he's not.
Which made it one of the better
not
Avengers
in this
movies.
Yeah.
Because he's not a good actor.
The fact that I can't remember if he's in it or not.
This show, though, has really shown how much of a good actor he isn't.
Right.
So
he's a mediocre white man.
Bree, what do you
Scarlett
think?
Johansson.
Oh, I'm just kind of listening right now.
Okay, because I see
what do you think about
I
Infinity
see
War?
the gears in your brain turning there.
Yeah, I'm just kind of listening right now.
What was your favorite part?
I have to say that for me, cinematically, I feel like they did a phenomenal job. I feel like it wasn't like, anything mind-blowing happening, but I think it was well done. I think they made good choices in the color grading that they did. They chose a good tone in the color grading to match the feelings that you experience while watching it. I think a lot of the stuff with Doctor Strange, for example, a lot of the CGI and everything with that, I think was well done. The what do you call the humor? That's the word.
Yeah,
the humor was
words.
Yeah, words are hard. The humor was very different, and I think in a good way, because it was like little bits here and there to like lighten it up, but like in the end, you're still gonna walk away extremely depressed at the end of this movie.
Oh, absolutely.
I think this movie was very quotable.
Right. Like they put in lots of good lines and good quotes, both humorous ones and not humorous ones, but it wasn't like they were trying to make light of the situation, which I definitely appreciate, because like there's just certain kinds of humor that it grinds my gears, like there are certain kinds of humor that really just tick me off, and like making light of a serious situation is usually one of those things. And so like the fact that it was like it was tastefully done humor, where it was like, we can all enjoy this without being mad about the fact that they're screwing us over right now and ripping our hearts out and stomping on them.
Bree, you must hate me then like 80% of the time.
Oh no.
Because that's all I'll do. Like a kid will get eaten by an alligator and I'll laugh. Like
I remember watching King Kong, and we're at the scene. You have to understand, the running joke as I was a child is my mother will cry at anything. And so my friends and I would make fun of her for it. King Kong. And so we're at the scene where in the movie he dies because he's going to, or he's getting, whatever. And I look at the row ahead of me in the movie theater, because it's like 2 rows of us. And I see my mother crying, and I turn to my friend laughing about this as this very serious moment is happening, and my friend is sobbing too. And I'm just like, what is wrong with you? He's a fake monkey. And then I realized I was probably laughing at the most inappropriate part possible in the movie, and everyone probably thought I was a psychopath.
My friend waited until there's like part of Breaking Dawn, part 2, where everything's quiet and you're like waiting for something to happen, and my friend just let out the loudest belch ever in the
Oh no.
That was me.
When you came to Whitby, Ontario one time.
A friend of mine.
No, that's just me in general.
Perfect.
We went and watched Frozen the first time when it like had first come out in theaters, and when Anna freezes and then she lets out a breath, and there's this puff of air with the breath because she's frozen, and so it's cold, or it's like hot air into the cold, and then like it makes like a little fog cloud. Yeah, my friend was like dying laughing because like here she is freezing, and she goes and the air, and then she dies laughing, and we're literally sitting there, all these people like so sad, and all these parents with their kids, and she's trying to laugh under her breath, dying over. It was a moment.
I was happy when that happened, because I was like, is the good guy gonna win this movie? Oh my gosh, he's gonna win, and then he didn't.
Speaking of Frozen and fantastic moments, the second time I watched it, because I went to see it with 2 different groups of people, when Hans is like, "Oh, Anna, if only someone loved you," this old grandmother goes, "You bastard.
I love it. I love it. That's so
Okay,
cute.
Anna's kind of dumb though. Like he's got a point. Like her own
He's
sister
dumb.
is like,
Yeah.
shut up and let me stay. I'd rather stay in my room for 10 years than talk to you once. I'm just saying. And then Elsa, okay, can we talk about the ecological terrorism that she unleashed on her kingdom?
I mean, wrong powers, wrong movie. But I mean,
Thank you, Michelle.
I get it.
Someone has to corral us.
And Hans, he was kind of, I agree with him.
I'm
would've
really
done the
glad you
same
said
thing.
that and not like let him hit it from the back, because I would have been like, listen, no, we're not, no.
Do
Of
we
all
have
the
anything
villains-
else to talk about with Infinity War?
Anyway, what
What are your experiences?
Margaret,
like-
what did you think of the like costuming and stuff? Because I always liked Ebony Maw's like special effects stuff.
I think they did a very good job of like having different costumes that like fit. Like it was just an interesting like, because you had some people still in their super gear like Cap and Nat, and then you have Wanda who is clearly like taking a break, and you have Tony in that jumpsuit that he then pulls and is like zoop. So like
But
it was what I would
can we
expect
talk
for a
about-
superhero movie.
Can we talk about Cap's uniform? Because that is by far the best
That's
one.
what I'm saying.
That's
That
the best
moment
one
when
of
he
all of them,
catches the spear, highlight of the whole movie.
right?
He doesn't look as good in the bright red and blue as he does in those dark navies.
Right?
No.
Like, he looks so good. Whereas Sam looks really good in the bright colors. Cap looks, my bad.
Oh no, Christina!
Sam Rogers looks better in the darker, like duller colors.
Here's the thing: Sam, I don't think will ever be Cap. He's Captain America, but he's not Cap.
Give
Steve
it
Rogers
time. Give it time. I'll transition my vocabulary accordingly. Okay.
He does look better in like, so you're looking like not duller colors, but like the richer colors. If that means like
No,
the darker,
like the
more
colors
jewel
that have,
tone.
Like a
with less
lesser tones.
Okay, but Cal,
saturation
what
to them.
about
They're not
bearded
bright.
Bucky?
Pardon?
Bearded Bucky.
Okay. So here are my three thoughts about Bucky in this movie, because there's really not a lot to say about him.
He's not really in that much.
My first thought is, are you kidding me? Out of all the technology, out of all the warriors, out of all the aliens that are much stronger than him, you had to bring him out of farming for this? Is this consensual? You just kind of walked up to his hut with a fucking metal arm and we're like, all right, good buddy, old pal, it's time to work. And he was like, I guess I don't pay rent. So like, okay.
Okay, but also we've been discussing Bucky's consent forever.
That's also true.
Also Hulk's consent.
Yeah, which is another interesting point of this movie. And I feel like for Bucky, at least, it's kind of like, okay, like Wakanda saved you. You've been living in Wakanda for years, probably rent and tax free. Like, you do kind of owe them one. But Bucky did not seem excited to get into another fight. Like, the only time he ever seems excited to get into a fight was the beginning of World War II, and when he realized he could follow Sam into battle, okay? And both of those were what? Gay instances. So when it, like, it's not,
Also
when
when
it's
he
just
was
a regular fight.
Also with Rocket.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Point two, that moment with Rocket was the most iconic piece of fan service Marvel has ever done. Because the memes, because Guardians of the Galaxy and Winter Soldier both came out in 2014, like a few months apart. So since the summer of 2014, memes were going on about Rocket stealing Bucky's arm. And then 4 years later, Marvel was like, all right, we'll give you one. We'll give you this. And I was like, thank you for doing that before traumatizing us. And then point three, he's just so freaking cute. Because when you think back to like Captain America, the first Avenger, and like the flying car goes up and Bucky's like, whoa, a flying car, oh my goodness. And then when the shield goes up in Wakanda, he's like, I love this place. Like, he's such a little dork.
Yeah.
And he shouldn't have to fight. Somebody bring him back into the tech room with Shuri.
Of course he's a nerd.
He's so nerdy.
So, did everybody see this in theaters whenever, like, the first time?
Yeah.
What were your experiences watching it the first time?
Other
than the losing Bucky moment, because
I got bored during the battle scenes for the most part, because I think this was one of the ones that I sat down and I was like, you know, there are certain parts of superhero movies that I don't like. Because I remember Black Panther being an experience of like, I wasn't bored during the fight scenes in this one. I remember Infinity War, there just was so much going on that while I'm sitting still, I'm like, I would rather be doing other things right now. Why are we fighting? Can we just get to the end of this? Why is this still going on? And I get like that in the battle scenes.
I always get like a feeling in my body during the fight scenes where I'm like, yeah.
But at the same time, you know something bad is gonna happen. Like at some point, like that's what I hate personally. Because like as soon as, like I remember the first time watching Avengers, and I was like, "This is amazing. This is my shit. I finally found something that I like." And Kevin's like, "Oh yeah, just wait till we get to Civil War." I was like,
"Who? What?
What?" And he's like, "Yeah, they fight each other." And I was like, "What? What do you mean they fight each other?" And then he's like, "Oh yeah, they fight each other, and then they're gonna fight other people." And I was like, I can't handle this. I don't want to go to it. I don't want to be a part of it. I don't want it. But he kept bringing me to the theater. He's like, "I'll just pay for your popcorn." So I was like, okay, that's fine. I'll watch the movie as long as I get my popcorn, whatever. But then there was this movie, and I died.
Well, so I remember like reading not like an actual spoiler, but just the fact that like it ends on a really big cliffhanger. And the entire time watching it, because it's obviously like one of the longer films. And so like I was like, oh, this is the point. Oh, this is the point. Oh, and like nothing prepared me for the actual ending.
Oh, see, I knew something had happened, so I think I'd seen some like I knew about Spider-Man at least. I knew Peter got dusted. But I remember walking out of that theater going, why is everyone upset and worried? We all know those guys these are the original cast members. The others are coming back. That's why they're the ones that were dusted, guys.
But see, like, they fooled me with Bucky first because he's expendable. Like, monetary-wise, he's expendable. But when it was Spider-Man and T'Challa, I was like, they're fine. Like, they're fine.
Well, that's what I was so confused about, because I was like, wait, didn't they already, like literally the week before, they announced a new Guardians movie, and they announced Black Panther. And so I was like, didn't we just...
Yeah.
How are they going to do this?
So we always knew it wasn't, like, real, I think.
Well, but we didn't know how they were going to undo it, because I was like, oh, maybe it was a dream. Like, it was, something like that.
Loki did shock me, though.
Loki, yeah. 100%.
That was shocking. And then the Gamora one, I was like, okay, it's okay. So I'll be honest, I've never liked Gamora's character.
Yeah, I didn't feel anything.
I didn't feel anything like for her specifically, but I did remember being like, oh, this is a big moment for Marvel, because this is like a really violent, upsetting death. For like Loki's died 800 times. So like you've seen it before. It felt more real this time, and I was like upset that he was dead in the first 5 minutes. Heimdall's death. Yeah, those were really upsetting.
That one hurt.
Gamora, that was like such a raw, like I just chucked my daughter off.
That's the one thing I don't like when people bring their kids to the theater. It's like you're bringing your kids and you're like you're exposing them to this. It's like, are you even talking to them about this at all? Like that's for me, that's true. I don't like when people bring their kids to the theaters, and so like seeing kids at the theater and then seeing all that, I'm like, that's a lot.
There are kids movies for that.
Right, and like there's animated Marvel stuff that is totally okay for kids to watch, but the live action is no,
right?
No.
That was like when we saw, I think it was Halloween, there were children in the audience, and I was like, everyone's getting mortared.
No, I knew Gamora's death was gonna be big, like just because you could tell by the music in that scene.
Yeah.
It's like very gravitas.
And it's just so like awful when you think about, like, imagine you're a younger kid even watching that, and the person who is her father to her has the chance between accomplishing his goal and literally murdering her, and he just does it. Like, he does not take time to think about it. He just does it. Like, I imagine as a kid that's like, Watchmen, holy shit.
That's pretty gruesome too.
So much worse than, although Matthew Good.
But there's a difference between, I mean, like, sure, kids also shouldn't see gore and stuff like that. But Infinity War was so psychological in the fact, like you were saying with Gamora and Thanos. Like, that's a conversation you have to have afterward.
Right, the dusting, I think
if you're going to bring your kid to the theater, I think that you should go to it first and then decide if you want to take your kid to that. Because, like, I watched I've been exposed to trauma at a very, very, very young age, like very young age. And so there was always a lot of conversation about certain things and certain issues. And I think that like parental discretion, but at the same time, it's like, don't bring your kid to the theater when you don't even know yourself what's going to happen.
Right. Like, there are websites that literally will tell you, like, what do you need to tell your kid before this?
Do you want to see what someone's eyes look like when they're choked and they go all red and bulging and their neck breaks? Is that what you want your little kid to see? Because I didn't want to see it.
No.
I never wanted to see him that way.
So I did a Dutch store for my financial stuff for my Christmas stuff, and I put, what did it cost? Everything.
40 cents.
That's my Christmas section.
Everything.
That's beautiful.
Dun, dun, dun.
I just needed to share it because I was.
That's like a heavy scene too.
Because as I was setting this up, like, I needed a quote, and I was like, "What Marvel quote would go with this?" And I was like,
so perfect.
I think. I mean, there's a huge discussion to be had about how that death is set up and the juxtaposition we have between the fact that Thanos talks about how she's the thing he loves more than everything, and yet he is the reason she has so much trauma, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think there are kids who would get something out of seeing it. I mean, like, they're not going to enjoy her dying, but like get something out of seeing that on screen and knowing, like, hey, Gamora had a terrible dad, and this is what happened in the other movies, and she was able to move past it.
Maybe to a certain age, though, like, do you think that if you're at a certain age, you wouldn't necessarily understand that he didn't actually love her? Because he doesn't, right? Like,
no, absolutely not.
He loves the idea of her, but he doesn't actually love her otherwise.
But it's a good conversation. Well, it's a good way to have that conversation, to talk about that.
Like, people can say they love you, but be willing to hurt you.
You also have to think about, saying as an older sibling, you also have to think about kids and age gaps and people who have multiple children. And you have to deal with, like, sometimes the younger ones don't understand, especially with something like a Marvel movie, which people think is going to be safe because they've seen all of the ones before. You have to understand that, like, the younger siblings may be really upset about being left out if most of the siblings are able to go, but they're not.
Okay, this might sound really mean. I don't care about that.
So...
Because first of all, I don't want your little kid at the movie theater.
Well, yeah.
You know, there's like that episode of Dr. Phil where everybody's fighting about letting kids in spaces. I'm the one that's like, yeah, I don't want the kid in my restaurant while I'm eating. Kids are yucky. But I also, I don't really care because I guess when I grew up, I had to deal with that a lot of being too young for stuff. And like, I kind of get it. Like, I do think that it was unfair at like 3 p.m. when I got kicked out of the living room because my cousins were watching The Simpsons. But I think it's fair when you're going like out to something or it's something you're putting on at night to be like, you're too young. Fuck off.
But how often were you held back from something because your sister was too young to see it?
Not a lot. No, my family was like. My family was very good at being like, hey, kid, fuck off.
That's what you sometimes risk, especially when you have, like, sibling groups where one of them might be old enough and the others are. And like I said, it's a Marvel movie, so people probably weren't thinking that it was going to be that dark. Like I had some idea what was going on. But
that's on them as a parent, and I really hope that on the drive home they had a few conversations.
Also,
can you imagine on the child?
Can you imagine the conversation of, and this one's not necessarily bad, but it could be a little traumatizing for a little kid, because I can think of some movies that freak me out too, of like Gamora, little baby Gamora, watching half of her planet get cut down, and then being like, wow, glad that was a fantasy sci-fi movie and that doesn't happen. Oh no, child. That actually happens in many places on Earth, and it's ongoing. And in fact, perhaps your grandfather was among the population. Like, right? Like, it's not.
It does depend on the kid, though, because like I would have been unbothered by something like that, because I know I have always had a high key knowledge of what is fictional and what is not. That's why fictional stuff doesn't make me cry. My brother, on the other hand, would have nightmares. Like, we weren't allowed to see Jumanji because my mother knew he would have nightmares.
Okay, but that was scary though. Okay, I relate to Ben's trauma there.
But also, Jumanji is completely fictional. Malthusian politics and ideas that Thanos had are like very reminiscent of recent world events. So like Thanos was like, yes, a giant space scrotum that like did outlandish things, but also like high key built
recent world events. You mean current?
No, Malthusian philosophies and ideas were used by the British government in like the 18th, 19th century against the
I feel like there are people that are trying to bring them back.
Right, but like there have been genocides committed under Thanos's ideas, not the exact same way, but like the idea that like, oh well, they're just overpopulated, so we should let a bunch of them die instead of helping them when we can easily help them because that's the right thing to do.
How about we let you die?
I mean, let's just be honest. Okay, so Thanos has this, like, he has all powerful, essentially, can make reality the way he wants, and instead of just making endless resources, he kills half of a planet.
So who does that sound like? Like a Jeff Bezos?
He would need to make endless resources. He just needs to redistribute the ones that are there so everyone has a fair share.
He could have done endless resources, like utopian society.
Redistribute the wealth.
What?
Redistribute the wealth.
Yeah, he literally could have done, okay, let's make sure everyone has enough and no one is hoarding more than they need. And he went with, let's just off half the population.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, that's an actual traumatic conversation to have with your child, especially if you're like a population that is being like systematically erased that way.
Right.
But, like, we have like, oh, you're someone from Northern Ontario on a reserve, and we have the resources to give you clean drinking water, but we just won't.
Right.
Your kid in Flint, Michigan,
same idea.
From a fictional perspective, though, lack of creativity on Thanos' part.
Oh, I know.
Absolutely.
And also, he shouldn't have erased half of all life. He should have, if he really wanted to do anything, erase half of all humanoid life. Like, what the fuck is killing half the bees?
He could have been specific. Why not erase, the murderers and the Bezoses and the
like the Walt Disney Company,
right?
No, we could have gotten rid of Facebook.
Like equality and equity here.
Yeah.
Wow. So altogether, before we move on to Ant-Man and the Wasp, who was your favorite Avenger in this movie?
Rocket.
Yeah, Rocket's really good, but I think I have to give it up. Like, oh, this is gonna sound really anti-Christine of me. This was the first movie ever that I was like, Tony's right. Like, I liked Tony in Spider-Man Homecoming, but this is the first one where I'm like, no, I agree with him over everybody else. And that's really rare for me because usually he's like so stubborn and hard-headed, and I'm like, you're dumb.
That will be me with Endgame.
where Tony just like, yeah, I think in the last two,
he's like actually the logical one.
Yeah, and I do love the character arc. I think it's one of the best things the MCU has ever done with a character is taking him from point A to point Endgame. But it's
because if we went back, if like after watching Endgame, you go back to watch Iron Man, the stark difference. Yeah.
It's great acting,
stark,
great writing, it's great directing. It's just so. And I remember like watching this and like knowing Cap and people were gonna lose and being kind of okay with that because they were being idiots, but like feeling so upset when Tony's plan fell through.
Yeah.
And then when he gets stabbed, I was like, is he gonna die on the
Oh my god, I really thought he was gonna die nowhere. I thought he was gonna die.
On Titan, like so far away from Pepper, and I was like,
well, especially because of the whole foreshadowing of the phone call being like, you're not on that ship, are you?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
I was like, oh my god, he's gonna die here.
I really thought that, and then I think like I was more like for the once honestly I was more invested in his plot line. Like him and Peter I thought were like,
I loved Peter. He's my favorite,
right? And I was just rooting for them so much where I was like, Cap, you could end this, man, where Tony did everything he
Peter,
could.
you are talking about Spider-Man, not Star-Lord.
I'm gonna call Star-Lord like dumbass, so that's how you know the difference. Peter is.
There is only one Peter in my book.
Between like all
you
of
could
the
just call him Quill.
Okay, if we're talking X-Men, there are two, but there is only one Peter in these movies that is actually Peter, and that's Peter Parker. The other one is Star-Lord or Quill.
But
like,
we're asked that.
That too.
The conversations between Quill and Tony though are so good because Tony. Well, like they're good in such a bad way because it's like Tony's like, oh my god, I thought I was done dealing with idiots.
I brought up the child, right? And the child is the adult one,
right? Yeah.
We're using made up names
now. I feel like
I love
Tony wouldn't be where he is in Infinity War if we hadn't have had that time between Civil War and Infinity War where he's having the time to sit down and think about his actions and what has happened.
Yeah.
And his relationship with Peter is so important for that.
Yeah. And the same thing for Infinity War to Endgame. Like the Tony we see in Endgame, there are certain events that we would not have gotten. Like, I don't think the Tony that we see in Infinity War or Civil War would have been able to do what he does in Endgame. And I'm not even talking about at the end. I'm talking about with the shield.
Or just any of it, really. Like, I think that there's this moment for him where, like, in Endgame with, like, the photograph in the kitchen, where he's like, I'm safe. My wife and my kid are, like, we all made it out of this thing. Like, I don't have to do anything. I don't care. It's been 2 years. 2.5 years. Okay, get over it. But, like, he's like, oh, like I was responsible for somebody else's kid. And that person looked up to me like a father. And, like, I have to make the world better for Morgan. And I have to, like, I have a duty to Peter. And I think that it's like, he would not have been that before Spider-Man Homecoming.
I also think that he wouldn't have been able to put his ego aside because that was the primary thing that killed him in Civil War, is because he wasn't able to put his own ego and feelings aside. Whereas once we get past Infinity War, he has paid the price for that ego and he's had to sit with that.
Yeah.
I don't think we've ever seen him truly have to pay the price for it until he kind of has that, like, that moment.
Overall, I just think the Russo brothers did so much better with Tony and pretty much every character other than Cap, maybe. Well, they did most of Cap's, but, like, they did so much better with Tony than Joss Whedon did.
Yeah.
And that
Bree, who is your favorite?
That's hard. I can't pick favorites. I have to say that I really enjoy.
And this isn't even my favorite franchise.
Groups wise, I would say that my favorite groups to follow their storylines were Thor and Rocket.
Oh yeah,
I'm right there with you.
Oh, that moment when Thor came back.
Their little story was just so much fun to follow, and like them and like Groot offering up his arm as you do, and I'm just like, you're just you're just a cinnamon roll. You just are. Even as an obnoxious teenager, you're a cinnamon roll.
There's something really heart-wrenching about Thor, like a god who's so flippant in other movies and like, fortunately, I am mighty. You know, like he's so like it rolls off the back. He's so easygoing, and then like he has had enough by Infinity War. Like he is broken in half, and then he doesn't fucking win, and it's like, oh baby, you poor man. You tried so hard.
It makes sense what happens next for him, like how he falls back. Like he just feels so defeated at that point. Like it makes sense. Like what he goes through, like mentally in his mental health, what Wanda goes through in her mental health, like those two in particular, and what name? Please.
Yeah. Name, Tony, please. Steve, Nat, Clint.
Nat. Thank you. Nat.
Literally everybody.
And what Nat goes through, like those three are the three that I'm the most probably like.
I feel it.
I would have really liked to see more of Steve in the in-between, because I think we see that he really, like, because he's been through hell and he's already experienced this, like we see him step into a role where he's actually like, I can help other people through this.
He's such a fucking liar, though. He's like, we need to move on and keep going. Opens a picture of a girl he never even went on a date with from 1943. Like, okay, you big fucking liar. Meanwhile, when his actual friends die, he's like, one single tear for people I actually knew.
I wonder if that was like, I have questions about something in that movie, because we see such a difference with him in all of the other ones, and I don't understand.
Yeah, I don't blame Chris Evans for it. I blame like the writing and the directing of it, because like he obviously, like, you see how committed he fucking is to Bucky, who's like shooting at him in Winter Soldier, and then, you know, when people die in Endgame, he's just like, oh, this is
Infinity War. Do you mean Infinity War? Or do you mean
both of them? Both movies. I think his performance is lackluster in both movies.
No. Okay.
So do we have any last thoughts at all?
No. I think we're good.
Awesome.
Quill is a dumbass.
Yeah.
No one is arguing with that.
That one was pretty obvious, Cal.
Yeah.
I have zero thoughts on it.
Nothing about this movie.
Really?
That I
watched it the other night, and I really liked it.
Okay, that's actually a fresh opinion. So why don't you share one?
Yeah, go ahead, Michelle, before I dig into my little bit pet peeve.
Oh no, okay, so I really liked it. I've always liked Ant-Man. Like, as soon as he I like, when I first heard about Ant-Man, I was like, this sounds kind of ridiculous. Like, a guy who controls ants and like is teeny, but like this one, Paul Rudd really was just amazing. However, wanna punch Hank Pym and
in the fucking dick.
In the face. Like, want to punch Hank in the face.
Hank,
but I still really love the
so many apocalypses that it's like, you have nothing to say.
Well, it's just like, he's just, well, I'll get to him in a second, but no, just like Paul Rudd really took it away, and like him and Cassie and their little, like him being a father, and I just love him so much.
Like,
I love
Daddy
him.
Paul Rudd.
So much. I was like, damn, I wish my dad gave half a modicum of a shit as much as he gives to his child. Like, damn. His fictional child.
He gave 110% in that maze thing that he made.
Right? Oh my god.
I think there were crazy. Like, as a whole, I liked it.
Maze.
Yeah. As a whole, I liked it. I thought that it has a fantastic cast, and I think they're what really carried it, because a lot of the writing was lackluster. There were lines there that I was like, we really could have done this a different way. This is the most obvious way we could be communicating this. And then there were a couple of places in the fight scene that I'm sitting there going, this is not the smart choice that I feel this character would have made. The first fight scene with Hope and all of them, I'm like, she can go tiny. She could completely be avoiding this fight. So why aren't you giving me a good reason for why she's fighting? Like she
Well, mine was just like, why does oh my god, I forgot his fucking name for a minute. What's his real name?
Scott Paul.
Scott. I was like, why is Scott even here? Like, if they have the technology to make her go teeny tiny, then why is he there? Like, they're just putting him in jeopardy.
They kind of gaslight him so hard too, because he's like, hey, like I have to go home and like be there to get released so like I can be there for my daughter. And they're like, well, you owe it to us to help save my wife. And
you owe it to us because you decided to go to Germany. It's like, bro.
That was my thing. Like, that drove me nuts because, like, that was his decision, not theirs. And he makes it very clear that he stole the suit. So, like, why is the U.S. government coming after them for his decisions?
Right?
Yeah, it sounds like
the fact that it's the U.S. government.
Sketchy too. After they found out, like they went on the run, they didn't, right? Like, I don't know. And it also, I feel like they were so mean to him. I'm like, okay, if you're trying so hard to get your mom back, can't you empathize that he is trying to be a really good father? I mean, I'm sure Hank can't because Hank hasn't been a good father for 30 consecutive seconds in his life. But like, can't you empathize that, like from Hope's
perspective? I don't think he was a good father even before that. Like,
no.
Well, I think
I
think
I would have done a little bit more character development on, God, what's her name?
Hope. Cassie.
Is that her name?
Hope. The wasp?
And then
No,
Janet.
I'm talking about the mom.
The mother. Janet.
See, I wish they would have done a little bit more character development on Janet. Like maybe had some flashbacks or like reasons why I should even care about her at all.
Besides the fact that she's a good mom.
So
right. Like we get this idea that she's a sweet bean and a good mom, but like we don't know anything else about her.
So should we be sacrificing Scott's like legal rights to see his child and like legal freedoms so that she can maybe come back? Like
right.
Well, we were very much
that's why I'm like, so why couldn't we see her being like some cool badass scientist?
We had so many different like moving pieces trying to get the stuff because we had what's his face with a terrible accent. We had Jimmy Woo who has never done a thing wrong in his life, and then the shaky ghost lady whose name I don't remember.
Ava.
Like, so like it was just this whole thing.
Well, I think from a production standpoint and from like a writing, and I mean I know that they're technically different production teams, but this movie was squashed in the middle of Infinity War and Endgame. And it really kind of feels like no one gave a shit.
Whereas Captain Marvel is as well, but it feels less because it's an origin story. It feels a bit more
right.
Was Captain? Yeah, I guess it was.
Yeah, because your first ever hint of her in the movies is at the very end of Infinity War, like the post-credit scene when he hits the pager, and then the end credit scene of Captain Marvel is her Endgame.
To me, I think it was more premeditated what the plot of Captain Marvel was going to be. I think the only reason they did any kind of anything with the Ant-Man and the Wasp is really because they needed him to be in the quantum realm.
Right.
They needed that tie-in. Yeah.
They needed
that was the entire purpose of the film.
Like, if you think about the marketing of that movie, it was just very underwhelming because it was squashed in the middle of these two huge epic movies. And we're honestly all just being like, no, we just need an Endgame trailer. We just want an Endgame trailer.
And it's also kind of sad because in like the cartoons and the comics, the Wasp is such an iconic character and she feels so neglected.
He really does.
And
like, honestly, I couldn't give a fuck about that character.
It's not Evangeline Lilly's fault either, because in the rare moments you get to see a softer side of her, it's great. It's just that they always play her as this stone cold bitch, and you're like, realistically, why would Scott be into this when we've seen that his first wife is a lovely woman, like she's so warm and affectionate,
and obviously, like Scott is a comic of a person, like not in a bad way, but like he's lovable and he's
everyone else in his life is very soft, warm, and open, like his best friend.
Why would he be attracted to this?
We can see why she would be, because she's seeing him try and be the best dad he can be, and she's going, like, that's
he's
attractive.
Very attractive.
but like we don't get, other than the fact that she's hot, we don't really get much of
that seems like a very shallow reason.
Yeah, and you know that he would be into her for more reasons than that, right? Because he's not a shallow person at all. He's a very he's one of like the better, like on terms of like levels of goodness, like one of the better people in the MCU.
Like
right?
we could even like, even if it was, because like she is a very strong character and she's clearly been through shit. So we could even have like a conversation where he's talking about things about her that he really admires. We don't get that. We don't like, she's obviously like, because she is the female character and she's hot, that's all the reason that we're expected to have for her. Well, versus if we could see some of why Scott likes her, that might make
best scenes in the whole, like her whole run is like them in the little car that's like the shrunken car with the laptop screen that they made the drive in, and just like her interacting with Cassie in like a natural, nice way. Because you're like, okay, like she can't be that frigid if her and Cassie get along, right? Like if she's warm and open to his daughter, she must be like a good, nice person.
That right there is the biggest downfall of the whole Ant-Man sector, is that we don't get enough time with the characters because they're so focused on making stuff happen. We don't get character things.
Do you want a giant Pez or a developed character?
Right.
And like, that's a problem that we see with a lot of superhero movies, I think.
Yeah.
Because like they'll pick one, like a Tony, that will get development over the entire thing. And then the others are there just to do what the story wants them to do, which is why I think we get what we get in Endgame with you-know-who.
And would Ant-Man be likable if it was a different actor? Like, would we tolerate the movies as much if it wasn't Paul Rudd, who is like the most likable person on the planet?
Right.
It's the way he plays the character well.
Well, yeah, but it's funny because when they announced that Paul Rudd was joining the MCU, there was a lot of pushback because they really didn't think that he fit in.
He's too old.
With the Christmas.
Who can tell?
Right.
I'm pretty sure he's been the same age since 1991, but okay.
Let's be honest, he looks the same as Ant-Man as he did in Anchorman.
Clueless.
Yeah. Clueless. I think there are actors out there that do really well with that character.
Yeah.
So like, I definitely think they could have found an actor that could have done it as well as Paul Rudd, but would they have? Going with what they probably normally would do.
And I think he's just so endearing. Like one of my favorite moments in the entire MCU is one of his early moments in Endgame when he's like running to see if Cassie's okay.
Yeah.
And like to me, that was one of the strongest. There's like no words. There's just him freaking trying to get to his kid. And like it's one of the strongest moments, I think, in that whole movie, which it's a pretty messy movie at some parts. And like one of the strongest moments for his character at all. And I think just like we spend so much time with like Hank being angry and Paul being like, whoops, I'm sorry, and Hope being like
and the weird stuff with him being her mom.
Yeah, that was a weird scene.
Cursed.
Yeah. That was weird.
Like it was funny with Scott and Hank. It was a little weird with Hope and Scott.
It was not funny with Scott and Hank. It was borderline homophobic. It was like, oh, I wouldn't hold your hand if I,
see, I didn't see it as that. I saw it as, how'd this happen?
It's just, there's so many jokes like that of like, oh my God, no homo, that I'm like, yeah, I get it, Marvel, no homo.
Well, I think it wouldn't, it plays off that way because, Scott absolutely would hold a dude's hand.
Oh, compliment Steve's butt. Like
multiple times.
Yeah, he's big bi wife energy, okay, but also big bi energy in general.
I was gonna say no, Scott's bi.
He's bi wife and bi.
So,
yeah, no, I liked it. I wish there was more. Like, I like how it talks about other things that happened in the Marvel universe, like how Ava came to be and things like that. And like, but also it talks like there's a lot of themes of like scientists always seem to meet some kind of deadly end. And then also I hate how they bring in like parents, like heroes that are parents, and something tragic always happens where that is possibly tested And that's the one thing I hate about any kind of anything is when you bring in somebody who's a parent and then like their child is taken away or their child is killed or their child or something. Like if I know that there's a child in a movie, I don't even get excited about it because it just like it's like dangling a carrot because it's like you want me to care just so you can like crush all of my hopes and dreams. Like I don't want to do that. But no, I just I hate the fact that they brought in like how amazing of a parent that Scott is just for them to like constantly put that into Jeopardy.
Mhm.
And it's like it's so unfair. It is so incredibly unfair. And I like how Scott was like, do you realize how hard it is for ex-cons to find work? And that's why he was like trying to make his own business. Like he's trying to make a go of things. And they're just like, no, you have to help us after Germany. You decided to parade around with the suit. And it's like,
which is a whole other conversation about the American prison system.
Well, truly, because he is at, like, first of all, his crime was for hacking and whistleblowing. Like, he has at no point ever been a danger to anybody, let alone his child. So the fact that his parental rights to her are ever in jeopardy is disgusting because he's proven himself nothing but a fantastic father. Like,
like the system doesn't care about that.
I know that.
Whistleblower protection in the first place is a little bit of a plot hole. Because like there are safeties in place for that, especially when you're a white man.
Tell that to the one lady that got thrown in jail. For like there are definitely whistleblowers that end up going to jail or people who will like they'll fight they'll do something on one hand, but then they get that person that like who was it? There was something that like a big corporation came and got them for something completely different. Because they want a whole bunch of money from them.
But let's be honest. I will die on this hill. Like his sentence would have made more sense if Ant-Man was a black man.
Yeah. If it wasn't Paul Rudd, it's like, why are you white?
Right. That's the thing. Like he would not have gotten that same sentence, and he would have gotten protection.
You're in California.
Because
all your friends are people.
Especially if he was Paul Rudd.
He's a white man with some like financial backing.
Yeah. Like he's not poor.
Right.
No, it's true. It's true. And it's just, I do like the fact that Cassie never doubts him. Like because so often in movies, the kid like lashes out and is like, you're a terrible father. And he's like, oh my God.
And then they have to win him back over.
Yeah, but like Cassie is right.
And I think it's like some movies it makes sense and some it doesn't. Because like
right.
In this one, I don't think
different reactions to that stuff happening, and it depends a lot on the parents.
Yeah,
and like, she was so understanding. Like it's so rare when you meet a child who like understands real life stuff, and it's just like, oh, okay, like, and is just totally cool with it, because it's just like she's had to deal with her father being in prison. And now he's Ant-Man, and so it's just another thing to her, you know.
Her just being like, I could be your sidekick. Like, don't laugh. Like, I do a good job. I was like,
and he's here sitting there going,
yeah, I'd be a terrible parent if I let you.
You're 8.
I know, but you know, she's gonna like kiddo. Be in later stuff because Cassie Lang kicks ass in the comics. So like.
That I feel like that would have been really funny if he'd been like, listen, kid, you've got to be at least 16 before this happens.
Get a driver's license and then we can talk.
When you get married, we can talk about it.
Alex,
that seems like a very dad thing to say.
Alex,
when you're old enough to drink, we'll talk about it.
And what part of a Marvel movie? Bend down so they can see. What part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe made you cry?
When he went looking for his daughter, he found her.
What did you do?
That is very valid, Alex.
I called him a good dad.
And what did you do, like physically with your body?
I cried.
We're like 20 minutes into Endgame. I look over. He's such a good dad.
Yeah.
I love that.
You got a good one, Cal.
My other complaint is why the fuck did they make Wu look fucking incompetent? That
when
pissed
he
me
is
off.
so not in WandaVision.
But he's not.
Honestly, I didn't realize it was the same character when I was watching WandaVision until he like did the card trick and he's like, Scott taught me. I was like, oh my god, that's the same
It's
person.
you. You've had such a character growth these past 5 years. Like,
I want that movie.
Yeah.
I know,
He seems
I
like
love
somebody
Wu.
who really needed, like, he's had a bad bit of time and he really needed a win.
I'm just saying, like, if we were to ever release a Woo board, not that we would, but like if we would, but like not that we would,
That's
but
not
like
happening.
if, you'd all be very lucky.
You'd all be learning card tricks.
That's a bad
That would be
idea.
the center
I don't like
problem.
that idea.
Learn a card trick for Scott.
Please don't. Don't
Of
ask
all
me to do
things,
that.
learn a card trick.
No,
all
it just
the
be like
possible
be
things you could
generally
do.
delightful for half an hour.
I also
All right.
like yeah, that was good.
So,
Can
moving
we
on.
talk about the best
Do we have-
part of the month?
The boss battles.
Oh, right. We have to talk about those too. Never mind. Go ahead.
Look, well, actually, we really don't because we did
We
an
only
entire
talk
live
about-
show about that.
Yeah,
Are we
and
gonna
the
talk?
boss.
Are we gonna talk
True.
about the boss battles or then the books or the book
Well,
and
we
then
really,
the boss?
I mean, we did an entire live show about the boss battle already.
So maybe just the second one. Just the
Very
Angeline and Wasp
Yeah.
one.
What did
Okay.
everyone like? What did everyone read for it?
So I tried to read Rosalind Palmer Takes the Cake, and I got this far. Because guess who had to refilm their entire November wrap up? Because when you have the case on, the microphone doesn't plug in.
And then you get this wonderful.
Someone should tell me what a good mic is, because I don't.
There were like
I can help you with that.
I will send you the link for mine. I love it.
What are you
Okay,
using? Do you
cool.
use a camera or your phone?
I use that thing.
Oh, I can
yeah, we
Hold
use our
on.
phones.
Yeah, just send me a link because I've always wanted one because I want to do
I'll have to
voiceovers.
figure out what mic it is.
It's fun.
I mean, as long as it has an auxiliary cord, it should be fine. No, I read Everyone Dies Famous in the Small Town for the show.
Nice.
And I hate it.
I don't think I read. I think
Like,
I don't-
I've never, okay, it took me 4 days to read a 120-page book. And the whole time I'm like, don't care.
I don't think I read a book for that. To be totally honest, I am
I
not
loved
good
it.
at the boss battles.
I did. I swear I did.
I tried, but it was either read for this boss battle or finish the group book, and so
The group.
I
book.
chose finish the group book.
So I chose to get my wrap up out.
That's it. Oh my gosh, you guys! I read the
What?
cutest freaking little graphic novel for this.
Oh, I borrowed that one. I just need to read it.
Cute. It's
What's it
called
called?
Living with Mochi, and it's about this girl and her dog. And it's literally just like this whole thing about like living with a dog, just like the day-to-day life. And it's amazing, and everyone needs to read it. And it only has like 500 reviews or something on
Group
Goodreads.
read
So everybody
for
go read it
February because of Sparky.
It's so cute.
Okay, I sent you the link. Shallow.
Oh, good. Okay.
But for anyone who is wondering, I use this mic.
Is that a pug?
It's
I
not a
think
pug.
it's just a blob. I think
It's
a
not
blob.
a real dog, but hey.
It's
It's
a
a blob.
Lobo VRX. Oh,
It's
it's Lobo VRX 10. If anyone is wondering which mic I use, it works real well. Picks me up. I don't even have to turn it around when I'm talking to the camera from behind during vlogs.
Oh, I didn't see this thingy.
I don't even have to turn it around when I'm doing vlogs.
And you don't need an adapter for it if you have a Canon EOS.
I
And
didn't
you
know
don't
that there was
even
a
need
thing
an
there.
adapter for it if you live in the US.
I
No,
was
if you have a
2 years old
Canon
when I saw that.
EOS.
If you have a Canon EOS and if you live in the US, because power outlets are different in other parts of the world.
This is not a power outlet. It plugs into the
I don't know what things do. Okay, I don't know how cameras work.
You clearly do. You have a whole master's degree.
Yeah, but I don't know what camera inputs are like in Korea.
Okay, but if you ask her about like a camera from 1830, then maybe she could help you out. But like right now, I don't know.
Exactly. You have to used to sit still for 45 minutes.
I got you.
So
I got you.
Thank you, Thor. Adapters to cameras depend on the camera more than the country.
So, Firekeeper's daughter.
Yes, let's go.
Wait, should we look at what anybody else read? Okay, nobody actually said anything. Never mind.
Nobody's listening to us.
Yeah, then no one's commented for like 20 minutes.
Nope. They all like zoned out.
They're just like whatever. They're just talking.
Wait, Brittany is saying. Nice.
Yeah.
I can't find it.
A novella was a good idea.
Right. Because it's the most fucked up one. I tried reading volume 9 of this series, but
a lot of people in the group chat read like little romance novellas. I noticed that was a big theme. So like, good on you.
So I had these ugly edition. I had this. Well, I only had Elantra so far, but they're really floppy and everything, right? But I had this ugly edition. But then I had to order all the fields from Book Depository anyway. So I got the pretty ones.
Nice.
Ooh.
I got the pretty new
That bugs me that we split one book into 2.
Unsatisfying novella for this boss battle.
Option A, option B.
That is so pretty.
Oh, hey, Bree.
I enjoyed this a lot.
Rose Sarushian read the Mochi book as well. Can we talk about how good this book was?
This is the perfect
This
book.
was amazing.
This is one of the best. Like, this is right after, I would say, Legendborn, as far as...
I would actually say that it's better than
Legendborn. Because it's so rooted in, like...
Yeah.
Well, first of all, it's right on the Canadian border, so, like... And, like, I know Anishinaabe people, like, this is an issue that is, like, so central to, like... And not the anti-Black racism in Legendborn isn't. Like, obviously, I've done a lot of work in that area, but, like, this just felt so fucking real. Like, it felt...
It did. It was very real.
Yeah. It's this, then Legendborn, I think, then Slay. For me.
Where is Ace of Spades in there? Because you've read that one already.
Oh, yeah. Probably Ace of Spades is tied with this because I'd say both of them. I think for me, like, fantasy is a great way to, like, talk about issues, but the fact that this and Ace of Spades do it in, like, a very real, gritty way, to me is more, like, captivating.
Right. Yeah. Well, no, this one is so blunt, and it literally is unapologetic.
Yeah.
Like, it literally talks about, like, what was it, bigotry bingo?
I loved that phrase so much.
It's very self-aware. And for this to be a debut novel, which I guess if we're talking about it, the 3 of them, if we're talking about Ace of Spades, Legendborn, and Firekeeper's Daughter, those are all debuts.
And you cannot tell. And I would be interested to know. I don't know about Ace of Spades. I would be interested to know how long Angeline Boulley was working on this and how long Tracy Dion was working on Legendborn, because a lot of the time
Boulley has been working on Firekeeper's Daughter since she was like a teenager.
Okay, because
like,
a lot of
this for a really, like, she said she got started on it in college, I think.
Wow.
If you read the author's note, it is a little bit of a self-insert book. In the fact that she kind of like,
I honestly don't even care about that. Like,
right, I know. Like, that's it. Like,
every indigenous novel is a self-insert.
Well, and if you do it well, it's fine.
And so there's self-inserts like Twilight, where Bella has to be devoid of personality to make you feel like you could be that character. Or there's self-inserts like this, where Adonis is one of the most well-developed, captivating, real characters I've ever read.
Well, I don't mean self-insert in the fact that the reader can insert themselves.
No, this is the author definitely living through things that she wished she had done differently. Yeah. So
it's also a universal experience for a lot of indigenous women.
Absolutely.
Not just Anishinaabe people, but the fact that this was an Anishinaabe Ojibwe book is just like I heard Danny from Thunderbird Woman Reads talking about it, and just like her wisdom about this book and is what made me love it even more, because like there were certain things that I was reading that I was like imagining in her, like from her perspective, but also from the perspective of like knowing about like missing and murdered Indigenous women, about drug problems, about, you know, all of the tragedies. And like there's a part where they talk about like what it's like to have to know about things at a very early age, and like the fact that it's terrible that we have to know those things, but like I felt that in my soul, because like I learned about Indigenous trauma at very like a ridiculously young age, and so it's just like it like spoke to me so much.
And I think there's a huge difference between what this is doing and what some like historical novels will do with trauma porn, because I have definitely read books where they will have similar, like it's not the same characters, like it definitely was a white character, but like they had some really shitty stuff happen to this character, and it left you going, why was that in the plot in the first place? And yet every single thing that happened to Donis, I was like, this ties to something. Like I knew the real world tie to it, if that makes sense. Like this, she wasn't fictional for me in the way that the main characters of Home for Erring and Outcast Girls were. Like they were, you could tell they were fictional. One thing I did want to mention, I don't know if any of you guys listen to Ride or Die. I did want to point this out. I know you guys may already know this, but I don't know about the audience. A lot of the time when you have books that come out like Firekeeper's Daughter, like Ace of Spades, like Legendborn, that are very, very good, strong debut books, it's because the author, especially when you have an author of color, it's because they've been trying for 10, 15 years to get this published, and they keep getting it rejected because it's not the right time, or they already have that book. And so you'll end up with a debut writer that is, or a debut novel that is so much stronger than a lot of white writers have to write as a debut. Like you'll sit down and you'll go like Shadow and Bone, I'm not knocking it. That is not Leigh Bardugo's strongest book. She got much stronger with Six of Crows, because you feel like she could, like if she had started with Six of Crows, like she would have had to lose Shadow and Bone. Like that's just a part of the publishing industry that when you see that, know that that's why a lot of the time you see an author of color.
Well, like when when this was pitched, it was pitched as like a native Veronica Mars. Well, it's like, honey, Donis Fontaine would smack the shit out of Veronica Mars.
And that's also, not like can we talk about downplay the talent of Indigenous authors. I'm just saying that authors of color have to work a lot harder to get where their white colleagues are at the beginning of their career.
Well, and you couldn't just, okay, look, so let's say I wrote a murder mystery in a white community. You could just write that. She had to balance so much here. Like the questions it brings up about like, when is it ethical to work with the police? Like that must have been really hard for her to write. And I imagine that she didn't always get positive feedback from people in her life about it. So
and her conversations about
like a lot of the reviews that I've seen from other people, they talk about like, oh well, they're talking about the police. It's like there are so, but it's like you knock it for that one thing, but like what about all of the other stuff that you read in the book?
It's also so nuanced. She's not like, I'm gonna work with the police because I love the police. She's like, right now something is going on in my community, and my only way to access to stop it is to work with the police, but I'm not going to give them everything I know. Like, so it has that conversation of like, what's the ethical thing to do? And I think it was like incredibly nuanced. So if you don't like, yes, ACAB, I absolutely believe in like the full 100%. Abolition of the prison system and a huge reduction and defunding of police powers entirely.
It should be for violent crimes only.
Right, but like you can't say that Donis like didn't make that work to her, like her.
Donis was literally only thinking of her community and nobody else.
She put herself at risk time and time again because she was like, too many women have died.
Yeah. I was actually really like I never would have thought of it the way she did when she was going through that journal and she burned those pages because she's like, this isn't for them. This this was not meant for like the police, and that's why my uncle didn't give it to them.
Right.
That wasn't something that I had been thinking about up until the point that she pointed it out, and I was like, oh, okay, that brought a whole other nuance to like even the beginning of the book where she's being
because
very
of
careful
course
about what
it
she
wouldn't be,
shares.
right? Because our like heritage practices, our traditional practices have never been regulated and outlawed.
Mm-hmm.
But if she had if they had found that one of their traditional medicines was in the meth, it would have been outlawed just as quickly as the meth. So
can we also talk about the tragedy that is Levi for a minute? Because that was just like I know he was dumb, but like it was definitely one of those situations where he was someone that got taken advantage of, because he clearly did not have any good parents in his life, and everyone else who was a authority figure to him was
manipulating him.
Yeah, was manipulating him and using him. Like his friend was doing that, his coach was doing that, his mom, who should have put a stop to it.
Okay, and correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't the friend white too?
The friend was white, yes.
Yeah, I thought so. So it was like this white guy and his dad coaxing these two indigenous kids
and
to
I know it's realistic, but I'm so pissed neither of them got their comeuppance.
Yeah, it would have been nice if Grant fell into the freaking Lake Superior, got hypothermia, and never came up for air again.
Blanket party, though. Blanket party.
Yeah.
One of the most beautiful things I learned about as a result of this book.
Oh, no.
Well, because you learn about, like, I don't know if it's the same for every other indigenous community, but like you learn about vigilantism at such a young age, and you're just like, you just think it's like a normal thing until you read something. Like when I read Winter Counts and I realized, oh, that's not like a normal thing for everybody else, but it is for like certain indigenous communities.
Right.
And so then reading about Blanket Party,
that should just be
I'd go to a blanket party any day.
Me too.
My one concern is if they went after Grant Edwards, what would he do back with all of the power that he has?
Okay, are you kidding though? If a bunch of indigenous women kidnapped him in the middle of the night and beat his balls senseless with like their like blankets full of shit, he would be too afraid to do shit ever again.
Let's be honest.
He'd be neutered. Like, come on. There's no coming back from that.
Yeah. That was one of those things that I did not. That scene with Donis and him assaulting her and raping her, which I thought the way that she thought about it, you could really see a trail, because at first it was sexual assault and then she was finally able to admit it was rape. Like kind of this whole, but like that whole thing, I did not see that coming.
I totally did.
There were so many things in that book that I didn't see.
I knew it was coming
from the minute that he looked at her. That's he knew what he wanted.
I knew he was going to try something. I thought he was going to, and then he's like, I have this video. And I'm like, oh, he's going to blackmail her. He's going to like, this is where the shit hits the fan. She gets kidnapped, dragged out to a cabin, and people threaten her. Like that was such a red herring.
I asked my friends, because my friends and I read it for book club last month too. And my friend Rachel finished it in like 2 days. And she was like, does anyone want trigger warnings? And I was like, could you tell me if there's any like rape or sexual assault? And she told me, but she was like, I think you'll be okay based on what I know about you, because it's mostly she dissociates the whole time. And so when I read the original, so I knew it was coming. And first of all, I thought for ages it was going to be Jamie. So the whole time I was like, please don't turn out to be bad. And like, thank God that he wasn't. But
I don't think they would have made sense of it if he was going to be the bad guy.
Oh, yeah, Prince of Jamie?
Oh. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I got Prince in the box.
Nice.
Yeah, that
okay,
plus
see,
the
I
fact
didn't have that information.
Like, I don't like the specific storyline that Jamie had where he was adopted out and he is, you know, looking for his community.
Oh, is one of those him?
Those are so pretty.
I thought the front cover was her and Lily. That makes sense.
Oh,
yeah, I was like last week when I noticed the color differences between the two of them.
Oh!
Okay, no, I realized that, and that's why I thought the darker one was Lily and the lighter one was Donis.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. Wait, hold on, darker one is Jamie?
I thought it was Lily. Michelle.
Yeah, I was gonna say Lily and
no,
Donis.
It is Lily. It's Lily and Donis.
Okay, that's what I thought.
And then
but
this is Jamie has a scar.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
Okay.
that makes sense.
And there's a quote on the back of it too.
It is Lily and Donis, Julie. It's correct.
I love that. Okay, so
I really liked
I'm
how
very
they
glad
ended
it wasn't him because that would have been a bigger betrayal. But I have to say that was one of the most like upsetting. That was one of the most upsetting rape scenes I've ever read in a book because of the way that he fucks with her disabled shoulder on purpose to like pin her down. And I was like, cool. Never read something so specifically traumatic. Like that's a way somebody could ruin my life tomorrow. All right, cool. I'm gonna go shake for the rest of the day and just rock back and forth, and it's cool.
And that's why you're reading Rosalind Palmer Takes the Cake now.
Yes,
it was
now
really
I am reading about British baking shows.
For me, the most traumatic was probably Lily, but this is hers.
Oh my god. See, I saw Lily coming.
Yeah.
It didn't happen how I thought it was going to happen, but the minute she stopped responding to texts, I was like, shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew something was coming on that.
I knew
something was coming on that. And I was just like, oh no. Something bad. I didn't expect it to be exactly what happened. And then I was like, oh, well, I guess that makes sense now that I think about it. I'm dumb. I should have known that it was going to be that bad.
So yeah, there needs some kind of a motivator when it comes to like that kind of a thing. Because I was like, I know that something bad is going to happen to where she was like, oh, I'm on board now.
Right. This comment about chapter 10. I'm curious who
that's when Lily died.
No, well, it's also when you find out who Jamie is.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I saw that coming a mile away.
Margaret called it so early, and I think you and I were like. I did not see it coming.
Like, what page was it? I can't even remember.
10. I don't know.
It was really early that I called it, but it was because he was asking about Travis in a very specific way, and I was like, that's a cop question. And I thought back to how he slammed her down to the pavement. When he put her down to the pavement, I was like, oh, he probably has come from a messed up neighborhood. He's used to gunshots.
Well, that's what I was thinking, especially
because I thought at first.
Didn't they say he was Choctaw?
They said he was Cherokee.
No, it's Cherokee.
Okay, because like I went to school in Choctaw Nation, and my roommate was Choctaw, and like those are the things that like I remember like from like, oh, he's doing what my roommate's brother was doing.
Yeah, but like he I don't even remember what the wording was, but he asked a question about Travis in a way, and I was like, wait, he's asking the way he's digging for information right now. He's undercover.
I really just thought he was like being a good big brother or something.
Yeah, no, I was like,
Margaret called it so fucking early. I didn't even register it until the minute Donna said it. The minute I was like, he's a cop. I was like, whoa!
I was listening to it on audio while doing laundry, and then like literally rewound it. I'm like, wait, what?
I was reading it physically, so that might have helped. But I think stuff like that is harder to pick up. When you are, let me see. I'll see if I can find it.
I was reading it in physical form.
Oh, mine was like a 6 month gap because I started this in like July, like June, July when it came out because I got sent the copy because I did a thing for it. But then I was like, I got to page 100 and I was like, nope, this is too much. I can't do this. And then reading it this month, so.
The whole Robin
talk so much about gender. I can't find what I want.
One of the things that really, really got to me was when her and Robin had the same injury and the doctors offered them both opiates. My God. And the fact that her aunt was there to step in and be like, no, there's a better way to heal you than this. And Robin didn't have that.
Well, it's awful. It's awful when you think about how much the doctors were pushing opiates, partly because of like the deception about it being less addictive, because this is in 2005, so they may not have known at that time how awful opiates were.
Right, but like the only difference that between Robin and Donis, like living and dying, was that Donis had her indigenous aunt there to say, I know better healing practices than the doctors do for pain relief.
Yeah.
Like that was the only difference. If Robin had had Teddy there, Robin would be alive too.
Yeah.
In other words, Auntie knows best.
Yeah.
Seriously?
Page 76. I
don't
said
just
it on
say-
page 76.
I don't just say that because I am now an auntie.
So when Kaiden gets hit into a hockey board and the doctors are like, "Do you want some cocaine?" You'll be like, "No. We will give you lots of tea."
That seems like a
What?
very
I got this, dude.
I think it also speaks to how bad we are at pain management in the United States, and especially about
For
women
real.
who are in pain.
Also, like I have a shoulder dislocation injury.
Yeah.
Like I've been through a lot of what Donna's went through with my shoulder, with the exception of the botched surgery. Thank you. I will never have that surgery now. Thanks, book. There's no excuse to give opiates for that. Like I get that it is very painful, but it is manageable pain. It is very treatable with like a sling, ice, like Advil. Like the fact that they were so willing to be like, narcotics is like
That's partly because of the propaganda behind it.
Red flag.
right.
But like it talks about how there was like I remember them having that conversation about the pain manager, about Robin getting the opiates, and thinking like how she was them talking about how she was still in pain afterwards, and I'm like, she probably was taking opiates because she was still in pain and no one was taking that seriously. Whereas if we sit down and we go, okay, you're in pain, let's see what we can do to stop it.
Let's go to physio. Let's go to acupuncture.
Let's do what we like. What else can we do besides just like, if there had been support there, she may not have become an addict. Does that make sense?
I think that's why, like, how many of you guys have read Braiding Sweetgrass?
I have not yet, but I'm going to.
So like
I haven't yet.
Like she talks a lot about how we can use Western medicine and indigenous traditional knowledge of medicine to like create better science. And this is like a prime example of where Donis's aunt had that exact like, okay, like go get the treatment at the hospital, but then like don't rely on pharmaceuticals, like don't rely on like literally the poison they're pushing you. Like there are other ways we can incorporate both types of, and so it really made me think of that and how like she was so lucky that she'd had that, and then when she at the end makes the choice to go study that in Hawaii and like carry that tradition on, that then she was bringing that. Like
I was so happy when I read that.
Which again comes back to support. Like she had the systems in place to make sure that shoulder injury wasn't something that crippled her for life or left her in pain for life.
Well, and if we lose that traditional knowledge, not just from indigenous like communities, but all small communities where Western science has like completely wiped out any other, then it's gone. So like, and then all we have left is pharmaceuticals. Yeah. So
I don't know that it would necessarily be gone because the human body doesn't change. It may be a long time before we rediscover it, but I think that like I think we're seeing, especially now, a lot about like the doctors don't always have the answer. And as much as it would be nice to be able to take a pill, I'm in that situation. As much as it would be nice to be able to take a pill, that's not always the option. Like, we don't have that option. Like I can't treat my eczema as easily as I'm able to treat my asthma. There's no way to do that.
Right. So, but like there is so much. Like I remember in Ghana walking through the botanical gardens and them just like pointing to different trees and being like, this is what they do. And like if we didn't have that preserved, like if we lost that, then nobody would fucking know until someone tried it again. And it's
I remember I was reading about the ephedra plant and I was like, I should look into that because if it helps with breathing, it's probably illegal, but if it helps with breathing, I want to be like, I definitely am looking at being less dependent on steroids because number one, eventually your body has enough and stops making what you need. And number two, who knows what the rest of the world's going to look like in 10 years. And I don't want to be dependent on something that if I don't have it, I don't breathe. So,
right. And again, you can't trust the pharmaceutical companies not to put some agent in there one day.
Yeah.
That will,
or not to fuck it up and put out a different version because it's climate safe, but it's a worse version, but they're just doing that so that they don't have to like actually do the stuff that's actually putting CFCs in the atmosphere.
A dog kibble brand did that recently. They changed their formula without telling their customers, and a bunch of dogs got sick.
Yeah. Wow. Oh, wow. Because like even if they didn't put anything bad in the kibble, that still would have.
Yeah, because dogs are sensitive. You can't just change their fucking kibble. Yeah. So like, but I just think that was one of the things I really took away from this was like how Donis's access to her aunt, and her aunt being someone that fought so hard for her community, was like the biggest blessing in her life. Like when everything else kind of went askew, like her aunt was there to, although I had to say her aunt was kind of mean when she's like, "You're just different lately." I was like,
no, that's a thing. That's a thing that our aunties do to us.
Her best friend just died.
Yeah, that was, I mean, I think there was a combination of her being worried about what was going on with Lily and the fact that the meth was so bad and like she knows some of that's happening. But it was one of those things I was just like,
I've had my fair share of
little bit of a break
like that.
If one of you died, I would not be like chipper the next day. I think I'd be very moody for a very long time. But
yeah. I think it does come down to the fact that her aunt knew her, but there were some places where I'm like, maybe she's just changed as a person and it's okay that she's done that. Do we have to be yelling at her? I'm uncomfortable right now.
So Donis's uncle died. She has a life-changing injury that permanently disables her. Her best friend dies, and then she finds out her brother is involved in the meth problem that killed a bunch of young women.
The guy that she had a crush on is an undercover cop, and he still continues to lie to her.
And she got raped, and she got kidnapped, and she was responsible. Like, she had to comply, otherwise he would die.
I mean, we can't say that the rape, the kidnap, and her finding out about her brother were something that her aunt was mad about or noticing behavior about, because that was after.
Like, just in general, yeah.
Like, and the fact that then she, like, was like, okay, like, I can go to university. Like, oh. Damn, girl.
Yeah. She's very resilient.
Yeah. In a way that, like, no one should have to be, but, like, she was. Yeah. She's, like, probably one of my favorite characters I've ever read.
She's a really
absolutely
good
1000%. It's like Virgil, Donis for me.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and her grandma was sick.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I didn't really care about Grand Mary because she was an old white racist woman.
Granny June though.
Granny June was the shit. I want to be Granny
her dog
June.
Tribal Council. Yes. That was my favorite.
Brilliant.
And just like, did you do it? Brilliant. Were you safe? Like,
so
like
good.
No, Granny, that's not what we mean.
I love it.
Oh my god.
Yes, I really loved the use of botany and all that stuff in there.
Can we talk about the scene too, where all the elders sign the petition to like?
I got goosebumps.
I almost cried. I say I don't get emotional about fictional stuff, but I did almost
cry because I don't cry in books, but it made me emotional.
I realized that I couldn't even fathom how emotional that would be to her. Like, I could empathize and be like, oh, I'm so fucking happy for you, but I don't think there's any equivalent in my life that I could like put myself in her shoes of like what that must have meant. It was such a touching scene, like so fucking perfectly done.
Yeah.
She thinks they're all going to go have an intervention. And they're like, we just love you and we want you to be part of the team officially.
I think that was one of those moments that like you really got how much her community meant to her.
Yeah.
And like this book made me very sad that and I don't think we should, considering how the elders in my community are behaving, but like that we don't have communities like that in white communities, that we have lost the ties to our ancestral lands.
Destroyed it.
Yeah.
But I mean, at the same time, our ancestors were dumb fucks. So
true. Well, a lot of it, especially if you come from like German, Polish, Irish, a lot of those, like Italian, they specifically did not carry on those traditions with their children because they wanted their children to be able to pass better as white. They wanted their children to be accepted as white, and if they carried on those traditions, they weren't able to.
Right.
So, but it made me like, just because like,
well, not just, and that just like Ireland and Scotland too, those were like the first places England colonized. So not only did they like choose not to practice them, like kilts were banned. Things were like lots of things were banned in a similar way to what
I'm talking mostly in the United States. I'm not talking about like over in the UK, but like in the United States, they definitely like, because they want like the same thing where you'll have families that come from Mexico or come from other parts of Latin America and the parents won't speak Spanish, or you have families that come over from China and the parents won't speak Chinese because they don't want their children to have an accent. That was similar with what happened with a lot of Irish. With the Irish and the German immigrant communities.
Right, there's an assimilation culture for sure. But
which I get, they were trying to like give their children a better life.
Yeah, and it's because
history because of it.
Well, it's not the parents that you blame for that. It's the community, the culture that.
No, I'm not blaming the parents. It's the It's a lot the U.S.
But what I'm saying with like in Ireland and Scotland, that happened before most would have immigrated to the States.
Yeah.
So like not only are they assimilating to an American culture, but they have already been forcibly shamed and stripped of a lot of their cultural heritage. And like places like Ireland and Scotland are only seeing a revival of that now. Like there are more Gaelic speakers in Nova Scotia, Canada than there are in Scotland.
Wow.
Which is really sad.
But that just also speaks to like the indigenous communities and how we like so much forced assimilation and genocide has happened, but yet at the same time we're still resilient, we're still here, we're still speaking our cultural languages, we are still rebelling against the systems, still doing all of these things to keep our culture alive and to keep the connections to like our heritage alive despite all of these risks, despite all of the dangers. It's just like a big fuck you to the system.
That reminds me of when we were in Ghana. We went to the one of the castles where they had enslaved dungeons, and like I went, and half of our group was like Black travelers, and we kept kind of separate and like let them go in front of us and stuff, and like didn't make them share a space with us as white people like during that moment. And then after we unpacked as a group, and I was like really. It was really emotional, and I was like waiting for what everyone else had to say about it. And Christopher, my landlord and my professor who like took us, he said that he felt it made him feel almost superhuman because like he survived, like he's still here after all of that, like after all the effort to like eradicate people like him, like he's still here. And I think that's kind of what like maybe I'm putting words there, but like kind of what you're speaking to, like the stronger communities and cultures survive that shit where a lot of cultures have not.
Right. Exactly. Which is why like we do have a large tie to our elders, to the people that have come before us. And then, you know, especially with Donis having to do the like, you know, applying for that special, and for her to not just thinking about herself, but she also has to think about like her future generations too. That's also like definitely a thing.
Yeah, well, when she made the decision whether or not to work with the police with like the 7 generation mindset, like it maybe wasn't what she wanted to do, but like who would her 7th generation from now be better off? I thought that was
well, and it's not something that as a white person I have to think about.
That we're ever taught to consider.
We're never taught, and it never would cross your mind of like, if I make this decision today, is it going to affect my great grandkids?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of our parents don't even think about what the decision will do to affect us.
Exactly.
Or
there's a lot of things in the book that I was like, just reading it. There were so many things where I was like, oh, I've done that before. I've thought about that before. I've had to deal with that before. Like so many of these things are like so commonplace for like me and for other indigenous people. And then like, it's so crazy to hear you guys talk about how like, oh, I've never had to think about that before. It's like, how many things have you guys never had to think about or look at or talk about that I've had to deal with my whole entire life? And like, you know.
But I think one of the really strong points of this book is that this book was 100% not written for white people.
Yeah.
Like there are parts of the book that I didn't understand, and I'm like, that's okay.
Oh, I actually went and found the Ojibwe dictionary for a couple of words.
Yeah.
So that because I was like, there are resources. I looked up when she first started talking about the Lili. I was like, okay, I want to know what this sounds like, so I have an accurate idea in my head. And when I looked that up,
right.
So like,
I mean, it's really good that the publisher didn't try to make her water it down.
I think there are a couple of places where there were
information in here.
Yeah, there were a couple of places where information was inserted, but I like that a lot of those were about Donis teaching Jamie.
Yeah.
So it was more about like, I'm bringing you back. I'm showing you what you've been missing out on versus
it's not natural.
Let me educate you.
Yeah. Like I think it would have definitely weakened it if Jamie would have been a white boy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, it would have never worked. He would have never gotten any community trust.
Well, right.
Yeah.
So
no, but that's what I liked was that she was like, you need to go figure out who you are and like where you come from.
Mm-hmm.
I like to think that in like 5 years they could reunite.
Oh, they definitely because he sent her that postcard. They're definitely gonna come connect on Facebook in a few years and like start talking about stuff. And he's gonna be like, "Oh my god, I've discovered all of this stuff," and they're gonna have a really good friendship while they're separate.
And then
be like, "We should meet up," and the spark will still be there.
And he'll have like rediscovered his roots and stuff, and she'll be like a fucking naturopath, indigenous.
I really hope he does. Like
I could have a really bright future for both of them.
Yeah, I could have definitely
seen them end with like a typical YA romance.
Yeah.
Oh, it definitely ended where both of those characters needed to
go.
Yeah.
I think the big thing for me was like when he was like, I need your help to figure this out. I need you to, and I was like, oh nope, he needs time away. Like if he hadn't said that, I'd be like, they could maybe stay friends.
Do you guys want
and
to know
she was very assertive. Like she knew that he had to go do that on his own.
Yeah.
You want to know what's kind of funny though is that a lot of people were like, oh, I was shocked that it was Levi. The minute Levi said investing in real estate in Ontario was cheaper than in Michigan, I was like, he's fucking lying.
I did not know that.
Yeah. Oh, fuck. Ontario real estate is pricey as shit. So I was like, he's...
No, I knew that there was
money.
Yeah.
Like the minute he was like, yeah, up in Ontario, it's cheaper to do stuff there. I was like, no, it is not. No.
Yeah,
you're like, no, actually, we go to Michigan.
I never imagined my brother doing that to me, betraying me in that way. So like, I didn't see that coming until later. What?
Putting it in her name, all the transfers and like.
Oh. Well, because her name was on the account.
Yeah, but that was on purpose. He could have made a new account, but he used the account that she was on, account, and then put the drugs in her room.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Why you gotta be so rude?
But like,
right?
I know he was probably mixed up in it. I could not have seen him like especially when he threatened that one guy. I was like,
it was the same kind of idea with Travis, right? Where it was like you're not a bad guy, like you're just in a really shit situation, and
and then he decided he was going to use her shoulder to hold her down also again in the car, and I was like, nope, he can die.
He can die.
That was trauma for anytime the shoulder was mentioned. You guys have to know that I felt every second of it.
Oh, I did warn you.
You did. You were like, I'll just be interested to hear about your shoulder, and I was like, oh, it's the exact same injury as mine.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Isn't that fun?
I didn't know that.
Shoulder instability literally means so. Essentially, what happens is that like the ball of your shoulder is like this, right? Like if this is the tendon, this is the ball. Like it's like this. Shoulder instability means it's like this, so it can just fall out. So she had the surgery to make it tighter, except then it like probably cut through a nerve or some shit and like ruined her shoulder. So like her still like this, and now she can't feel if it's about to dislocate.
Yeah.
Isn't that great?
Yeah, and we were talking about her decision to make that surgery and the fact that she was like what 17, 18 when she did that. Because I have a family member that also had to go through a surgery that ended up cutting through a nerve and has a part of their body that does not function the way it used to any longer. But they were in their 60s, so they really sat down and said, okay, what are the pros? What are the cons? Yeah. If this nerve damage happens, what are the complications for me?
If you're a hockey
she's sitting there, she's like, this is going to fix everything. Like, I don't think she even thought it could go wrong for a minute.
No, she wanted to get back on the ice.
Yeah.
Like, if you could tell me there was a surgery that was the difference between me doing dog stuff again or not, like, I'd take it, right? You'd take that risk.
Right. Yeah, but I also think you would sit and you would, because you are an adult and your frontal lobe is fully developed, you'd sit and you go, okay, what are the possible consequences if this goes wrong?
Well, it's the reason I'm not having surgery, because there's a surgery I could get on my elbow and on my shoulder, and I'm not getting either of them because I'm like, that's
when
more.
you were given those options when you were 16, you would probably been like, yeah.
I was like, no, I was like, absolutely not. I'm not having another surgery I don't need, that I'll need months and months of physiotherapy for. No, I'll just walk like this for the rest of my life. I'll sleep like this, protecting my arm.
Especially since you seem to have like a pretty good routine, and you already like you know what you need to do, and it doesn't impact your life a huge amount at this.
But it might have been really different if I was an athlete and my only connection to my deceased father was skating.
Yeah, for facts. Oh my god, him and the fucking the fact that he kept that scarf from her. Like, I mean, I got choked up when he gave her dad's regalia because I know the connection that would have. Like, I understand how much weight that has behind it. But the fact that he had that scarf all those years and did not give it to her and did not I could totally.
And that the reason was that the mom would be hurt by it, like.
Which, okay, fine, like especially if his dad.
Private then.
Especially since his dad sounded like maybe he was a little bit shitty about the fact that he had been coerced into this relationship with this woman because he would not have done what he did if he had not have been flat out drunk. But that's a situation where you go, okay, listen, this scarf really hurts my mom because dad did this with it. Please don't wear it where she could see you.
They just keep it in private. Like, take it to school with you, but don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. But like, he definitely wielded his like legitimacy over her.
Right.
Well, that's all I have to say about the book, other than that it was perfect.
So what would what would all of you rate it?
5 stars.
Will end up on my best books of the year.
Could I have given it more stars? It would have received them.
Indeed.
So
3?
Awesome.
I haven't finished yet.
Oh, okay. But 5, right?
I mean, probably.
I'm glad that we just
honestly,
the whole thing for
no, I'm okay with that. I'm still gonna love it anyway.
Listen, Donis would have had to have actually died at the end for this to get less than 5 stars. That's an instant 1 star.
If she would have died, it would have probably still been 5 stars.
Yeah, honestly,
it's very good.
For me, reading books like this always makes me want to like go back into my family history and actually find out all the things that I don't know, because like I know that there is a thread, but I don't know anything about how and why we were, because like my dad was raised pretty white too. Like it wasn't just like me that was raised pretty white, like he was too. So it's like at some point something happened, and I don't know what it was that, you know, I don't know if it was a choice or not a choice that so I'm curious, and I every time I read stuff that's like about culture, like the community of the culture, and I'm just like, I need to go back. I need to find out. I need to
Kind of
learn
like
more.
Jamie
And
was
then-
doing in the book, right? It's like
Yeah,
you can go home and
I encourage that.
yeah. It's always something that like every time like this kind of thing comes up, I'm just like, I want to know. I want to know.
It's good
all
to
the
find out where
things.
you come from.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
We don't have to go
any other thoughts? Any other announcements? What's plug your stuff? What's going on?
My
Anti-Chavon is over, unfortunately. So
yeah, my only thought is we didn't talk about it, but I just want to shout out her mom for being so absolutely supportive about her being connected to her father's family, because it absolutely could have gone the wrong way.
her mom was great.
Her mom was fantastic.
Like a very real, flawed parent, but a great parent.
Yeah.
I want to plug the page I made while we've been talking.
Oh, cool.
that's very pretty.
Thanks.
I
It's
have my
community.
Ultron vlog going up tomorrow.
Ultron.
It's like 4 months old.
Wow,
Point.
It's Doyle's birthday.
Cal's wrap up went up today.
I
though.
love you, Margaret.
My wrap up did go out today.
You make me feel better about being behind sometimes. I'm like, oh, it's okay. Margaret is too.
Vlogs just take so much longer to edit.
They do.
I have,
See, I'm
I have
opposite.
my TBR up, and
I
I'm
fly
doing
through editing vlogs.
I'm doing a
Would
bookish
you like to edit
gift
mine too?
tomorrow. That's my video.
Sorry.
It's a bookish gift guide.
Nice.
We love it.
We need
You're
one.
plugging your own
I
company,
need to
right?
send one to my family.
No.
The book that I video that I filmed tonight before this live was dumb reviews of Ace of Spades in theme with our reading for this month, and it's like a wave of turfs hit that page. Is all I can say.
Oof,
naturally.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Also, the most important
Yes.
information is that it is Doyle's birthday on Sunday.
Yes.
All right. So
what
everyone make
movies
sure you
are
wish
we
Laura happy
watching?
birthday.
Are we just watching Endgame?
Endgame and then Spider-Man Far From Home at the end of the month.
Okay.
So Saturday
cool,
at
'cause I
2
was
p.m.
like,
It's Endgame.
At the end of the month, or are we gonna do it like? Because usually we do it every other weekend, so that would be like the 19th.
We'll figure it out.
Okay.
Like maybe the 18th.
okay. Anything else?
That is all I have.
That's all I've got to say, other than I love this tank top and it makes me feel like a muscly dude, and I like my tattoos in it, and I want more tattoos.
We love you guys. We're sorry.
Yes, we
We're
do.
sorry.
That's what you need to know.
We love
Margaret's not. Margaret's
we're
not
not.
sorry.
None of us are sorry. We will be sitting in the group chat going, oh my god, they're freaking out so much.
I'll be freaking out so much.
We
Yeah,
definitely screenshot things from the Discord to put in the chat.
We do.
Oh, we do. We're like so often. Like, you know, there's like when you put HE, and sometimes that means like hee hee. No, but when we put it in there right now, these days, it's it's like completely different.
That was such an accurate portrayal.
Can you be a voice actor?
Actually, I did do audiobooks for a while, so
Whoa.
Wow.
I don't do them anymore because COVID happened. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it kind of
Well, if
ruined
you ever
a lot of
do
things.
it again, send it to me because I'll read it. Like, I just get to listen to Brie for
Yeah.
8 hours.
Yeah, don't let any of them fool you into
Aw.
thinking that they're sorry for Endgame.
I'm not.
I'm sorry for
sorry for
Endgame, but
myself.
only because it's going to kick my butt.
This weekend will be interesting. Oh, you sweet summer
Oh,
child.
you're
It is not a
cute.
weekend.
You're so cute.
All I'm gonna
Let's just say that this will be you will probably read more than you have all year.
Possibly.
It's a Civil War-esque kind of.
If you don't want consequences.
If you're someone who likes big, long books, there are a couple of ways you might be able to make that work for you, but there are a couple of ways that might hurt you too, depending on what you want to do.
Let's just say that no boss battle in the past has been like, if you don't participate, you're fucked. This one
This one will have consequences. I mean, technically, Infinity War did, but they just think like Infinity War was 2 weeks, y'all, and all of that, and we had to up the ante.
Right.
Yeah, so longer than 2 weeks.
The reason why this is all your guys' fault because you guys made Infinity War look too easy.
Yeah, you kept doing well at it when I was failing.
Okay, if you guys keep doing this, then we just have to up the stakes.
I need to say that if I am the evil one, I am the lawful evil one because I am the one that's like, listen, I'm not giving this readathon to the ones that are the super fast readers. I'm giving it for the one, like, I'm not worrying about the outliers. I'm going for the middle.
Cal and I over here are definitely the chaotic.
I am chaotic good.
To be fair, though,
chaotic good. We're chaotic evil.
Brianna and I both
neutral.
at different times suggested the same thing that was more evil than everything that Margaret put on there.
The one that we talked about yesterday?
But I also want everyone to
I
know.
suggested that when we were like on that stream meeting.
Oh, that's right.
You suggested it.
You're gonna have to remind me because I want to live back in this moment. But anyways,
I just want to let everyone know though that Margaret made a concerningly like beautiful mind-esque graphic.
It really is.
That I had to translate into sanity for everybody, and I think I did an okay job.
Was a vibe.
Christine, it was worse before you got it. So, all right, that's it because we can't do anything but talk about in-game at this point, right?
Okay. Wave
Goodbye.
goodbye. Bye.
Bye.